Thank you for joining us today. And right now, I am Justin from UNESCO Center for Peace, here with the Community Outreach Spotlight with the Frederick Center. And so I would like to introduce our guests. Please introduce yourselves.
My name is Peter Brehm. I'm treasurer of the Frederick Center and also co-coordinator of Frederick Pride 2015.
And my name is Kristopher. I am a board member for the Frederick Center as well as the other co-coordinator for Frederick Pride 2015.
Great, thank you. So how did you guys come to work for the Frederick Center?
Well, the organization was founded by Austin Beach, Cindy Beach, and Brian Walker, and the catalyst was that Austin was bullied severely at his high school, and the school refused to take action. So he and his mother decided that Frederick needed to step it up as it relates to providing services and resources to the LGBTQ community in Frederick. And Brian Walker, who has been active in local affairs in many ways, offered to step in and help be an organizer. I was asked to be part of the initial board, and that was in 2012. So that's how I got involved.
And basically I came on after seeing the very first Pride held in 2012, and spoke with a few of the members that had helped on the planning committee, and said I would be more than happy to lend my logistics and planning experience to the committee to help grow Frederick Pride into the event that it is today. And then from there was invited to join the Frederick Center board this past year.
That's great. That's great. So the services that the Frederick Center provides, can you share more detail into what services they provide?
Great question. We currently have 4 programs. The Cornerstone program is our youth group, which meets every Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Grace Reformed United Church of Christ on East 2nd Street. There's no fee. It's open to all youth. It's supervised, and this year we're also adding monthly visits by a social worker because of a youth group suicide that didn't take place at the youth group, but one of the youth group members committed suicide this past year. The second program is a transvariant / transgender peer support group. The third program is provision of free HIV home test kits. Since the Ryan White funding was cut, the state of Maryland has channeled all of its HIV testing dollars into Baltimore, where the HIV infection rate is terrible. So it's an appropriate move in a world of limited funding. So the Frederick Center has stepped in by providing people free upon request home HIV test kits. And the fourth program is adult services, which provides cultural and social settings for the LGBTQ community in Frederick to get together, network, socialize, learn a little bit more about topics that are appropriate. And it's that group that helps promote and coordinate events like Frederick Pride.
That's great. So did you want to add something more? Or?
Yeah.
How effective has the program for students, teenagers, been? How effective has that been over the years?
Yeah, I think it's been an incredibly effective program. Our youth group meetings have grown over the years and become a sustainable weekly event, which is something that anybody who knows planning events has been very challenging to keep up with. Frederick Pride, as its event, has grown from 300 members its first year, 300 attendees its first year. It is now topped out last year at about 3,000. And we're expecting about 5,000 this year, up to making us one of the largest prides in the state of Maryland, which we're very excited to celebrate with.
Besides, how effective is you offer like mediation as well, right?
Mediation?
Mediation
between
the adult.
Well, go ahead.
I was looking on your website, and one of the programs is mediation, conflict resolution between adults. Is that what you're saying with the adult program?
Well, No, the adult program is really focused on seminars and concerts and social events. I'll have to go look. I'm not familiar with any structured mediation.
Oh, that's all right. What where are you partnered with the youth, with the schools? Like, do you partner directly with schools, or you go into schools and talk about the Frederick Center and what it provides?
We are currently in the process of working with a bunch of different organizations. We have a wonderful relationship with the City of Frederick Police Department. We actually provide LGBTQ training for the Frederick City Police Department, as far as handling conflict resolution, things like the thing you were mentioning earlier. We're currently working with the Frederick County Public School System to enable us to provide similar training and similar resources to the community. On a macro level, the Frederick Center really provides the citizens in this necessary resources, education, and information that it needs in order for both its gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, queer community, as well as its ally community, to be able to communicate effectively in this area and network with each other to understand each other's cultural backgrounds and growth.
And building on Chris's great information, yesterday we did a presentation to the Jefferson School in Brunswick to an assembly, a student assembly that they had. The presentation that we offer is called LGBTQ 101, and it introduces vocabulary and statistics about the population, and then we also address questions and comments that people have about our community to help gain understanding.
Yeah. What are
We also,
vocab that would help uh, bring about understanding with the LGBT community?
well, it's pretty interesting. Just talking about the definition of lesbian and gay and transgender, that's the focal point and the starting point for the conversation. Because a lot of people get sexuality and gender identity mixed up and conflated, and as you know, they're distinct issues, and so that's where we start the conversation.
What's
Sorry, I was going to say, just to add to Peter's point, a big area that we're having a big conversation right now, in my opinion, in our community and in the larger, countrywide conversation is about gender identification. It's really becoming quite an interesting conversation that people are having to understand what it is to identify a gender, or with that, as Peter said, a gender with a sexual orientation, as if that is anything that should be linked when it is not.
right? So is that discussion part, like, is that one of the challenges you face during the time that the Frederick Center has been around?
The interesting thing about the issues with the Frederick Center that we just founded in, that was just founded in 2012, is that it is an evolving process, and we are identifying issues as they arise, and then figuring out the best and most logical way to address those issues. So we're going through, really, if you would have asked me 3 years ago, is gender identification really a primary, source of conversation or education? I would have said no, but now it appears that that is a serious conversation that our country is having, and the Frederick Center is at the forefront out here in Frederick County addressing that issue.
To that end, also, Justin, we are seeing a very large number of youth come to our youth group who are transgender. And then on top of that, we've also been working closely with the Frederick City Police on developing policies and procedures in terms of dealing with transgender people. So to echo Chris, it's a big issue, and we're doing everything we can to support our transgender population.
So was there, at the beginning of the Frederick Center, was there hesitation of people coming out to give your support, or coming out as being bisexual or gay or lesbian or transgender?
I would say that so of course our society as a whole has a history of having issues, struggle dealing with this challenge of coming to terms with their sexuality or gender identification. I found that from the organizations that I ran prior to joining the Frederick Center Board, that once you provide an adequate resource and space for people to feel comfortable to discuss those issues, they find that breaking down those barriers is not as challenging as they think it is in their head. So from that, we have been able to see a huge outpouring of support, both from the ally community as well as from our family in this community that have felt comfortable coming out. We've seen a huge increase in the number of transgender youth group members that have come to our organization meetings, as well as to our adult services, meetings and networking events. A lot of people who have essentially come out of the closet and said that it is because they realize there's a large community that they realize that it's now around us to support them.
Well, I guess that would be the case when you got Frederick Pride, its first event with 300 people attending, and now this year with 5,000. How many? What do you expect from the Frederick Pride this year, besides the overwhelming number of people supposed to attend?
Well, we'll have about 50 to 60 booths from commercials, where you'll have about 20 nonprofit tables. There'll be a place where people can dance, and there'll be a main stage that will feature live bands. And Chris has also arranged for a little glamour with some drag queens. So it'll be a little bit of everything, but the goal is for everyone to have a relaxed day, just celebrating the diversity of our community, both within the LGBTQ community as well as with our allies, which is great because Frederick is a very welcoming city.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to people who are still scared to come out?
I'll start. When I was first coming out, to be a member of the LGBTQ community was taboo. It wasn't to be talked about. It wasn't to be admitted. It was still criminal activity in a lot of states. And fortunately, in Maryland, a lot of that has gone away, both legally as well as culturally, and especially in Frederick City. However, I continue to be shocked by the number of LGBTQ youth who are suffering from bullying or religious harassment from their church or family harassment. I mean, as you may know, 40% of all homeless youth are from the LGBTQ community. And a lot of kids still suffer being kicked out as soon as they come out.
Mm.
So I guess what I would really love to see is a warmer, more welcoming embrace of our next generation of LGBTQ youth. Certainly, we're doing everything we can, but I don't know what else we could do in terms of churches and families, but that's what I would love to see is to get away from the hostility and the shaming and the hurtful stuff that goes on when these kids realize who they are and then celebrate who they are.
Right.
Well, and I would say that as we reach out into the community and we continue doing the work that we're doing, we're trying to educate, we're trying to get people to understand that this is a human rights issue, this is a civil rights issue, this is really providing everybody with the dignity and right to live their life as they choose. And as we continue to break down those barriers, the people who are struggling trying to understand what is my sexuality, what is my sexual orientation, they need to know that there's people out there who are struggling like they are, trying to come to terms. And it does a world of good to reach out and find those resources, especially if, like Peter said, you don't have it in your church or your family, especially if you're being bullied. There are people out there to talk to, people out there to help, and people who understand. And we go into these churches and these families, and we help to find an answer and try to get a greater level of understanding from the entire community as a whole. We will get there. It just will take time. And until that time comes, they just want them to know that the resources are there for them.
I respect and applaud you guys for coming out in a hostile world, and I'm awed by your bravery and your openness to living just as yourself, even though there might be ridicule and hostility towards people who are different. And,
Well, there's a member of the national gay community named Dan Savage, and he started a project called It Gets Better in order to post, I believe it's YouTube videos of a lot of different LGBTQ people who share stories about what it was like when they came out and then into how it gets better. And I think, I'm sorry.
You can finish up.
I guess the key, and this is something that we shared at the Jefferson School yesterday, the key is that for each of us on our journeys, whether we're LGBTQ,
Yeah.
we have to recognize that we are good people,
Yeah.
and if somebody is unhappy with who we really are, that's not our problem, that's their problem.
Right.
And as soon as we gain the confidence to make that break from letting other people define who we are to saying, I am proud of who I am, then the tumbles change and everything gets better.
Yeah.
Everything gets better. And we tried to share that with the kids yesterday.
Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah. Better than I could say it. Well, I want to thank you for doing this interview, and hopefully more people will join your Pride Festival and join up in your programs. And
For more information on the Frederick Center, you can go to thefrederickcenter.org. There you'll find the resources and information about everything that our organization provides, as well as meetup times and information like that, and contact information about Pride and any other event that we're putting on.
well, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, Justin.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.